So we're going to talk about the perfect play potentially, and also Binance, because UK. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell button and leave a like. Now apologies, I've had a fight with the lawnmower again. Fancied a change, thought get rid of it. Doing my head in today. So I thought I'd get rid of it before. Anyways, let's talk about it. Okay. On the screen you can see here Binance. I've had a lot of comments, questions asking me to kind of talk about it. I'm not going to go through the legal jargon of it. And you can probably see on the first couple of lines there about the FCA, issuing a warning on the 26th of June, that, Binance Markets Limited cannot undertake unregulated or whatever freaking regulated marketing activities, whatever you want to word it as, right? It's always going to be happening because of what happened in January. The 6th of January or the 8th of January, whatever it was, no longer can do futures or CFD trading with cryptocurrency assets, as they're too volatile, apparently. Would you believe? So, yeah, that's kind of been the stem of that. But there's more things we need to talk about, because I want to talk about the FCA itself in terms of the temporary list and the regulated registered list, right? We're going to talk about those. And I want to talk about this text regarding the banks. So you can see here, why have they kind of done it? Basically, Binance Group have not submitted a form to basically state into the US that they can use, as financial services, right? Yes, it's spot trading. Yes, it's future trading. Yes, it's all kinds of other bits and bobs. And yes, Binance should be. But realistically, it's more a warning than anything. But the only thing that's not a warning is the fact of what banks are doing. The banks are the issues more than, I think, the FCA, which I'll explain in a minute. So essentially what the warning was saying, that you can see here, they have to basically put a certain notice to state on the website that they've got to use certain things, right? That's kind of the caveat to this. But Binance Market Limited are no longer, or not a part of the legal entity around that offering of services. So you can't touch us, basically. Legal loopholes. However, as I say, I think the banks are the biggest problem, because they're just going to go, I'm not going to... Your FCA, we're in compliance with the FCA. Your Binance, we're going to side with those guys, the legal lot. That's the easiest thing to do. So you may well see more and more banks as a problem go, well, you know what, we may well just stop you from buying on Binance or withdrawing from Binance, which is the problem, right? So if I keep scrolling down in this article, there's nothing really great to go on realistically, other than the fact that it is a warning, yes. Yes, it could affect people. Does this mean you have to take your money out? Probably don't know. However, will you have issues getting money in? Yes, because you can see here Barclays have issued it. You also see it on NatWest and a few others. As payments have been made to Binance this year, we want to let you know that we are basically stopping those until further notice. That's where the problem lies. So if we're going to talk about it in terms of FUD, it's not really FUD. The FUD was last week in terms of actual, it's just a warning, put a notice on your website. Okay, cool, we can do that. But Binance haven't done that. And now you got the banks going, well, we're going to stop you from using, this, that, and the other, which is kind of a problem. Now, I know that you are going to ask me a question, who to use. I recommend Swissborg. This is not sponsored, by the way. These are linked if you want a free scratch card. The reason why I say that is because they've got 3 times the rewards. So basically, if I refer you, you get a card, I get a card, right? Basically, it's a little scratch card. It's pretty cool. You can get some of the Swissborg tokens. So if you use it, crack on, right? So if you're in the UK or Europe or whatever, I find these really, really good. Really, really good system. Really, really good in terms of like using of fiat services as well. Withdrawals are instant, and they're also a lot cheaper than Binance. I use it for withdrawals. If you want to get money in the market, you can use bank transfer, relatively free, right? So there's Swissborg, right? Check out the link, because I know I'm going to get questions about it. Anyways, moving on to the FCA. I mentioned this in a video not too long ago, that there's only a couple of companies that are fully registered, right? Gemini, most people know this. They're probably the most legal kind of audited exchange out there in terms of what they do, in terms of where they're commissioned, all kinds of cool, funky stuff, right? So, in terms of this, there's 7 pages of temporary registrations, right? So basically, these are all the companies that are temp. They will probably most likely eventually land on that other list that I showed you of like all the regulated auditing stuff that the FCA do. There you go. Now, there's an obvious missing entity here that we've just spoken about, Binance, right? So they're not on it. That's where the problem is. That's where the whole catalyst of this problem is. If you look down, and you've probably noticed some companies as well, even Celsius, they're no longer accepting UK people for legal clarity, even though they're on that list. So definitely, I think the UK and the FCA have ruffled a few feathers. eToro, have already came under there because essentially what's happened is they've removed their futures and their CFD trading from it. So that's another one. And you can see if you keep moving down, you probably recognise quite a lot of companies here. Revolt, for example. Obviously, there's other. Obviously Skrill, you got loads that you probably recognise, Wirex, etc, right? So my advice is don't worry too much about the safety of the exchange in terms of it's not going to just vanish overnight. You're just going to have some shitty restrictions, basically. That's all I'm going to say. But it doesn't mean you can't stop using it. You basically just move your crypto from somewhere else into it, or move your crypto out of it into something else and then withdraw. It's a pain in the ass. Personally, I hope Binance can sort it out. I hope Binance can fill out the forms and just do what they say and jump through a few hoops. Because realistically, I think it is only due to this. If they tick the boxes, tell them what they're doing, all the kind of good stuff, the FCA won't be going after them. Then the banks won't have to go for them. Then the media won't have to write shitty headlines that are bollocks, basically. So it is frustrating. It is very frustrating. Started off as a bit of FUD with, by the way, Binance, you must do this. And then they didn't do it, and now the banks are like, well, we're just going to side with the FCA and go keep them happy, because why not? Anyways, shall we talk about some chart analysis on a perfect setup that I think could be in the making? Now, I've talked about this a little bit in a previous video, and this is a 4-hour time frame. Woke up this morning, everyone was really excited and bullish. We are bullish again at resistance. Well done, crypto Twitter. Congratulations. All right. So when we go over to the daily time frame, this is where I want to look. We again have formed yet another, as you can see it, a lower high. And I mentioned this not too long ago that I don't think we've corrected upwards enough, but we could also go down before it. Yeah, no, confliction or what? I think we are going to see a lower Bitcoin at some point. I've said it last night on my tweet. I said we're going to go below 30k. I've put it out there, go, bollocks, I'm going to go and say it. The reason why I say that is because we've had a series of lower highs and, most importantly, lower lows. Not good, right? So if that happens, cool, we might get a nice liquidity grab. I think we need to find a bottom. And when we find a bottom, the next move will happen. And I think the next move will be up. Sounds obvious, right? The reason why I say that is because when you start zooming out a little bit and go to like the 3-day, for example, I don't think we've corrected enough up. When we think of this big drop from 59,000, 60k basically, all the way down to 28k, we've not really corrected it. So that's where the next move is, I think. Again, I'm not an expert, I'm just speculating. It just seems like it hasn't moved up enough. So if we're looking overall at this level, yes, we've had a little bit of a bounce here. We went up to a certain level, but realistically, this is the bottom at the minute. That's the bottom at the minute, right? If we go lower than that, there'll be a new bottom, obviously. But I think 28k, that level, will probably get tapped again. Sorry, guys. Supposed to be tested at the end of the day. So if we do, if I just remove this, by the way, make it a bit easier so you can see it. If we are going to go and retest, and this is, let's just say this is the bottom, I think we need to start seeing if we can correct up to that point and actually get a bit of a run. But we need to find a bottom. So where does this perfect move come in? If this does happen and we do and create, let's just say this is the bottom and it goes from that point, and we create a 66% move in Bitcoin going up, it's going to make the dominance of Bitcoin go up. It's going to be more influential versus the likes of the altcoins and stuff like that. Sirens, another murder, annoying. However, when we look at the overall spectrum, right, if BTC dominance is currently 45% and there isn't a 66% move, chances are it's just going to stay lullish and boring. We need to break, and a 66% move potentially, it's all hypothetical here, but there's no certainties in the market, remember that. We will most likely start seeing a much higher dominance in BTC, which will give you opportunity to then put your money or your capital into altcoins at the right time with Bitcoin if you've got it. That's the play. That is the perfect move. The caveat to that is, one, I've said it, we need to find a bottom. Caveat number two, we need to also correct. Markets go up, they go down, they correct upwards, they correct downwards as well. So we've had the dump, we've had a consolidation. And why I'm looking at this 3-day chart is because it starts to stick out like a donkey's dick. You've got the obvious failure on this point, right? This is an old previous structure, failed, lower low, with pretty much, in my opinion, formed yet another lower high here on the 3 days, looking really ugly. If there is a lower low and bodies close below that, basically below this point, basically below 30k, let's just say, it's another lower low. Adds to the fuel, adds to everything realistically. So what do I think? I think we're going to go down to 28k personally, maybe 30k. It might bounce off that point, but we haven't found a bottom yet. We haven't found something that is concrete enough on this higher time frame to go, right, there's a bullish divergence here, right, there's a certain amount of volume here, right, there's all kinds of good stuff, right. There's not, there isn't, that's a problem. So there has to be some sort of catalyst. This could be the bottom, could be, but chances are the support gets tested twice. And if they do get tested twice, it's healthy for starters, but also can be pretty brutal for people that are not wanting it and not expecting it. So that's the play. I think at some point, whenever that may be, we will correct upwards and we will try and reclaim this monster, basically this cataclysmic 50% drop over a period of 9 days, give or take whatever days it was. That is a huge amount of money to make up. The problem is we haven't, I don't think, done it yet. So the perfect play, and I repeat myself, Bitcoin goes up, dominance goes up, total 2 chart may go down due to the fact of altcoins bleeding out, stuff like that. So just be careful with your overall position. For me, if the dominance of BTC does go up from this point and we start seeing a 52%, for example, or even a 60%, which would be massive, it could be very, very important for altcoin positions for the winter.